I have an empty house right now, and it's just new to me.
The financial records just dropped, and Robyn Brown just pulled off something absolutely wild. While Kody and Robyn are spiraling in their million-dollar mansion, wrestling with legal dramas and family implosions, Robyn quietly climbed to the top of the New York Times bestseller list. Not just any spot on the list, mind you. Number 1. In 2 separate categories: hardcover nonfiction and ebook. Week 2 debut at the very top. But here's where this gets absolutely delicious. Years ago, buried in the pages of Becoming Sister Wives, Robyn Brown laid out her grandiose life list of dreams. Meet Oprah, change the world, write a bestseller, own a business. She wrote about wanting to be a best-selling author before she'd even written a single page worth reading. She dreamed of literary fame while Robyn was busy actually living the stories that would eventually captivate millions.
And so I decided, after I have Truly, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just not. I'm just going to be a mom and see what that feels like.
The irony is so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. Robyn achieved her bestseller status back in the day, sure, but it took 4 women's perspectives to get there. It took Robyn's authentic voice, Janelle's practical wisdom, Mary's raw honesty, and yes, Robyn's calculated contributions. But Robyn just did it solo. No sister wives required. No family drama to carry the narrative. Just her truth, her courage, and her willingness to rip open conversations that needed to happen. Think about this for a moment. Robyn spent decades living in fear, hiding her family's reality, carefully managing every public word to protect a system that was slowly destroying her from the inside. She learned media training through Principal Voices, mastering the art of saying just enough but never too much. She became an expert at surface-level responses that revealed nothing while appearing to share everything. Now she's thrown all that careful conditioning out the window. She's telling stories that make people uncomfortable. She's exposing intimate details about fundamentalist culture that most people would never dare discuss publicly. She's talking about marital dynamics that make viewers cringe and recognize patterns they've seen in their own lives or their friends' relationships. The numbers don't lie, and neither does Robyn anymore. To hit the New York Times list, you need to move over 5,000 books in a single week. That sounds manageable until you realize most books never reach that threshold. Most authors dream their entire careers of seeing their name on that list.
I don't know, people are good. People are open-minded, so much more than we would assume. That's just what I see.
Robyn didn't just make the list, she conquered it. But here's what makes this victory even sweeter. While Robyn was focused on celebrity and external validation, Robyn was building something real. She was connecting with women who recognized their own stories in her experiences. She was speaking truth to people who had been waiting their entire lives for someone to say out loud what they'd been thinking in private. Every woman who's ever felt controlled in a relationship, every person who's had to choose between family loyalty and personal truth, every individual who's discovered that the life they were told to want wasn't actually the life they needed. They're all cheering for Robyn right now, and that's the kind of success that actually matters. Let's hop in the time machine for a moment and revisit Robyn's confession from the original Becoming Sister Wives book. Picture this scene, a woman at what she calls an absolute low point in my life, sitting down to craft a life list of everything she wants to accomplish. But instead of focusing on healing, building authentic relationships, or finding inner peace, she allows herself to dream as big as possible. What did those dreams look like? Change the world, meet Oprah, write a bestseller, own a business, not be a good mother or build meaningful connections or even find happiness. No, her aspirations read like a celebrity vision board from someone who'd been studying fame rather than living life. The most telling part? She wrote about achieving bestseller status before she'd ever contributed a single meaningful sentence to any book. She was fantasizing about literary success while Robyn was actually developing the communication skills and authentic voice that would eventually captivate readers.
I think people are great, and I think people's minds are exactly where they need to be for us to be able to say, hey, this is our family, and you're going to find things that you really like about us.
Robyn was dreaming about meeting Oprah while Robyn was doing the unglamorous work of advocacy through Principal Voices, learning how to speak truth while navigating dangerous political territory. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Robyn admitted something in that same passage that should have been a massive red flag to anyone paying attention. She wrote, "I look back on that now and think be careful what you wish for because you might get it all, and then it may be something you don't want." Think about that mindset for a second. She achieved fame, financial security, got the man she wanted, had babies, wrote that bestseller, met celebrities, and gained a platform to potentially change lives. Most people would consider that hitting the jackpot. But instead of gratitude or fulfillment, she complained about it. She got everything on her list and immediately started focusing on what was wrong with the picture. Meanwhile, every woman who's ever balanced a household budget while someone else made the financial decisions can probably spot the problem here. When your goals are all about external validation and material success, there's never enough validation to fill the void. When your dreams center around what other people think of you rather than who you actually want to become, achieving those dreams feels hollow. Christine's goals were the complete opposite. She wanted her children to live without fear. She wanted to stop lying about her family's reality. She wanted to reduce harm in fundamentalist communities by showing that not all polygamous families were like Warren Jeffs' horrific compound. Her motivations came from protection, truth-telling, and genuine service to others. While Robyn was crafting celebrity fantasies, Christine was dealing with the daily reality of raising children in a system that required constant secrecy. She was developing the skills that would eventually make her an effective communicator, not because she wanted fame, but because she needed to protect her family while navigating an impossible situation. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One woman dreaming of bestseller lists and talk show appearances, another woman simply wanting her children to live without constantly looking over their shoulders. One focused on personal glory, the other focused on breaking cycles of fear and control. And now, years later, we see which approach actually creates lasting success and genuine connection with readers. Now, here's where Robyn's true colors really start bleeding through the carefully crafted public image. In that same book, she made some absolutely stunning admissions that probably seemed harmless at the time, but read very differently, now that we know how everything played out. She confessed to actively manipulating the show's producers, telling them they needed to tread lightly and not give America's women another reason to hate me. Think about the calculated nature of that statement. She wasn't concerned about being authentic or truthful. She was managing her image, orchestrating how viewers would perceive her, treating the entire television experience like a strategic campaign rather than genuine family documentation. But here's the part that should make every woman who's ever dealt with a manipulative person absolutely furious. Despite having everything handed to her, fame, financial security, the undivided attention of the man she claimed to love, Robyn spent her energy obsessing over negative feedback. She wrote extensively about usually placing last in the favorite sister-wife polls and how bizarre it was that people thought she was manipulative and conniving. Meanwhile, she was literally admitting to manipulation in the same breath. She was describing her strategic conversations with producers while simultaneously complaining that people saw her as strategic. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely breathtaking. Every woman who's ever dealt with someone who plays victim while actively working the system behind the scenes knows exactly what this looks like. It's the classic manipulator's playbook. Create the drama, then complain about people's reaction to the drama you created. But the real kicker? She achieved everything on her grandiose life list and still wasn't happy. She got the bestseller status, met celebrities, gained a platform, secured financial stability, and won the man. Yet instead of gratitude or contentment, she focused on the fact that internet strangers didn't worship her the way she apparently expected them to. Compare that mindset to Christine's approach during the same period. Christine was dealing with actual challenges, raising children in secrecy, managing financial stress, navigating the emotional complexity of sharing a husband while trying to maintain family harmony. But instead of manipulating producers or obsessing over public perception, she was focused on the larger mission of reducing harm in fundamentalist communities. Christine understood something that Robyn apparently missed entirely. When your motivations are pure and your goals serve others rather than just yourself, people respond to that authenticity. When you're genuinely trying to help rather than just seeking validation, that sincerity comes through in everything you do. The irony is that Robyn got exactly what she claimed to want. Kody all to herself, but it came at the cost of everything that might have made that victory meaningful. She won the man but lost the family. She achieved the bestseller status, but through other people's authentic voices rather than her own. She gained the platform but used it primarily to manage her image rather than serve others. And now, watching Christine's solo success, Robyn must be confronting the uncomfortable reality that authentic connection with readers can't be manufactured or manipulated. It has to be earned through vulnerability, truth-telling, and genuine service to others. But let's talk about what was really driving Christine during those early television days, because the contrast with Robyn's celebrity fantasies is absolutely stunning. While Robyn was crafting vision boards about meeting Oprah and changing the world through fame, Christine was motivated by something much more fundamental: fear and the desperate desire to end it. Picture Christine's reality before Sister Wives aired. She had spent her entire adult life living in secrecy, constantly looking over her shoulder, teaching her children to lie about their family structure to protect everyone from potential legal consequences. Every interaction with neighbors, teachers, or community members required careful calculation. What could she say? What might expose them? How much truth was too much truth? She was exhausted from living a double life, not because she wanted celebrity or validation, but because she was tired of raising children who had to constantly monitor their own words to protect their family. She wanted her kids to live without that suffocating fear that had defined her own childhood and young adult years. Her motivation for doing the show wasn't about personal glory. It was about showing the world that her family weren't monsters, that they weren't Warren Jeffs, that plural families could exist without the horrific abuse and control that had given fundamentalist communities such a dark reputation. She wanted to reduce harm by providing a different narrative, a gentler example that might protect other families from persecution. Think about the courage that required. Christine knew that going public would expose her family to judgment, criticism, and potential legal consequences. But she also understood that continuing to live in secrecy was slowly destroying the very thing she was trying to protect. Her children were growing up in a world where they couldn't be honest about their most basic family reality. Through her work with Principal Voices, she had learned how to navigate complex conversations about fundamentalist communities. She had developed media training not to become famous, but to be an effective advocate for reducing persecution and harm. She learned to answer questions thoroughly but carefully, giving enough information to educate without providing ammunition for those who wanted to attack vulnerable families. Every woman who's ever had to choose between protecting her children and telling the truth knows exactly how impossible that position feels. Christine was essentially choosing to sacrifice her family's privacy and safety to potentially help other families living in similar fear. That's not celebrity seeking. That's genuine advocacy. She wrote in the original book that their decision to live openly allowed their entire family to come into their own. She described loving the opportunity to introduce her sister wives' children as her own kids, to openly acknowledge her relationship with Kody, to stop constantly monitoring every public interaction for potential exposure. But here's what makes Christine's original motivations even more powerful in hindsight. She was willing to be vulnerable about her family's reality, even when that reality was messier than the sanitized version they presented on television. She was committed to truth-telling even when the truth was complicated, painful, or potentially damaging to the cause she was trying to serve. While Robyn was focused on managing her image and achieving personal accolades, Christine was trying to create a world where her children could live without fear. And that fundamental difference in motivation explains everything about why Christine's current success feels so authentic and meaningful. And that's when it gets even messier, because Robyn actually achieved everything she wrote on that grandiose life list. She got the bestseller status. She met celebrities and influencers. She gained a platform that reached millions of people. She secured financial stability that most families can only dream about. She won the undivided attention of the man she claimed was her soulmate. By every external measure, she should have been living her best life. But instead of celebrating these victories, what did Robyn focus on? The negative comments? The internet polls where she placed last? The criticism from viewers who saw through her carefully crafted image. She achieved fame and immediately started complaining about the responsibilities that came with it. She wrote about wanting everything to go back to normal, even though normal for her had been that absolute low point that inspired the life list in the first place. Every woman who's ever achieved a goal only to discover it didn't fill the void they expected it to fill knows exactly how empty that feels. But here's what's particularly telling about Robyn's response to success. Instead of examining why external validation wasn't bringing her the fulfillment she expected, she doubled down on image management and manipulation. Meanwhile, Christine was building something completely different. She was connecting with viewers not because she was trying to be likable, but because her authenticity was impossible to fake. Women watching the show could sense that Christine was genuinely trying to protect her children and educate the public, not just boost her own profile. Think about the difference in their approaches to criticism. When Robyn faced negative feedback, she focused on manipulating producers and managing perceptions. When Christine faced criticism, and trust me, she got plenty over the years, she seemed to genuinely consider whether there was truth in it that could help her grow or serve others better. But here's where Robyn's celebrity trap becomes most obvious. She got exactly what she thought she wanted and immediately started resenting the very people who gave it to her. She complained about fan interaction being burdensome. She worried about giving America's women another reason to hate me, while simultaneously admitting to manipulative behavior that would give them exactly that reason. Christine's approach was fundamentally different because her goals were fundamentally different. She wasn't trying to become America's sweetheart. She was trying to normalize her family's existence so her children could live without constant fear. She wasn't seeking personal validation, she was seeking systemic change that would protect vulnerable families. And you can see the long-term results of these different approaches playing out right now. Robyn achieved her celebrity dreams, but ended up isolated with a man who has systematically pushed away everyone else in his life. She got the bestseller status but through other people's authentic voices, rather than developing her own. She won the competition for Kody's attention, but lost the family structure that made that attention meaningful in the first place. Christine, on the other hand, lost the family structure, but gained something much more valuable: the freedom to use her authentic voice to serve others. She discovered that the connection she could build with readers through vulnerable truth-telling was infinitely more satisfying than any external validation she'd received during her television years. The celebrity trap that caught Robyn is one that ensnares anyone who seeks fame for its own sake rather than as a tool to serve others. When your goals are about what you can get rather than what you can give, even achieving those goals feels hollow. But the real bombshell hides in what Christine was willing to expose in her book, that nobody in that family, especially Robyn, would ever dare discuss publicly. We're talking about the intimate realities of fundamentalist marriage culture that have been hidden behind closed doors for generations. And Christine didn't just crack the door open, she kicked it off its hinges. Let's be crystal clear about what Christine revealed, because this isn't just gossip, this is dangerous territory that could help other women recognize patterns they might be living through right now. She wrote vulnerably about her first intimate experience with Kody, describing feeling hurt, emotionally disconnected, and completely uncared for. She exposed how Kody showed no interest in her pleasure, refused foreplay, and wanted her body always covered during their encounters. Every woman who's ever felt like an object rather than a partner in her own relationship just felt their stomach drop reading those details. But here's what makes Christine's revelations even more powerful. She described hearing Kody having intimate relations with other wives in the next room, knowing he was giving them attention and care he refused to give her. Think about the courage it takes to expose that level of personal humiliation. Most people would take those painful memories to their grave rather than share them with millions of readers. But Christine understood something crucial. Her willingness to break the silence around these topics could help other women recognize when they're being treated as objects rather than partners. What Christine exposed aligns perfectly with the teachings in fundamentalist communities that treat women's bodies as property and women's pleasure as sinful. She didn't have to explicitly connect those dots for readers. The pattern speaks for itself. Women in these communities are often taught as teenagers that they shouldn't enjoy intimate relations, that if they do enjoy it, they're sinners, that they can never say no to their husbands, and that their role is to simply allow their husbands to take what they want. Meanwhile, Robyn was apparently shaming Christine for not being willing to do things that she herself was eager to do. But here's what every woman reading this needs to understand. That's exactly how the system maintains control. They pit women against each other, making some feel superior for being more willing while shaming others for having boundaries or experiencing trauma. Christine's willingness to expose these dynamics serves as a masterclass in recognizing manipulation disguised as religious duty. She's showing readers what it looks like when someone uses spiritual authority to justify treating another person as less than human. She's demonstrating how control operates in intimate relationships within these systems. What makes this even more significant is that these topics are absolutely taboo in fundamentalist communities. Sex education is virtually non-existent. Open discussion about pleasure, consent, or mutual respect in intimate relationships is forbidden. Women are expected to suffer in silence while pretending everything is perfect. By breaking that silence, Christine is doing something revolutionary. She's telling women in similar situations that what they're experiencing has a name, that it's not normal, and that they deserve better. She's giving language to experiences that many women have never been allowed to discuss with anyone. This kind of vulnerable truth-telling is exactly what builds authentic connection with readers. People can sense when someone is sharing genuine pain to help others versus sharing details for shock value or attention. Christine's motivations are clearly about service and healing, not exploitation or drama. And this is precisely the kind of content that Robyn would never, ever touch. Too risky, too real, too likely to damage the carefully managed image she spent years crafting. Now let's talk numbers, because reaching the New York Times bestseller list isn't just about having a famous name or a television following. The reality is far more complex and competitive than most people realize, and Christine's achievement represents something much deeper than simple celebrity book sales. To hit that coveted list, you need to move more than 5,000 books in a single week. That might sound manageable until you realize that most books, including those written by celebrities with massive social media followings, never reach that threshold. Most authors spend their entire careers dreaming of seeing their name on that list. The competition is fierce, the market is saturated, and readers are incredibly selective about where they invest their time and money. But here's what makes the numbers even more impressive. Christine didn't just make the list. She debuted at #1 in 2 separate categories during her second week of sales: hardcover nonfiction and ebook. That means she wasn't just competing against other reality television personalities or celebrity memoirs, she was outselling established authors, political figures, business leaders, and major celebrities across multiple formats. The New York Times list isn't just about raw sales numbers, either. The selection process considers geographic distribution, the impact of the release compared to other books launching that same week, and evidence that the sales represent genuine reader interest rather than bulk purchases or artificial manipulation. Christine's success had to be authentic and widespread to achieve those rankings. Think about what that means in practical terms. Thousands of women across the country walked into bookstores or logged onto websites and chose to spend their hard-earned money on Christine's story. In an economy where every purchase decision matters, where people are carefully choosing between gas, groceries, and entertainment, readers decided that Christine's voice was worth their investment. But here's what makes this achievement even more remarkable. Christine's success is driven by vulnerability rather than celebrity. She's not selling scandal or drama. She's sharing painful personal experiences to help other people recognize patterns in their own lives. She's breaking cultural taboos to serve readers who need someone to speak truth about difficult topics. Every woman who's ever balanced a household budget while someone else controlled the financial decisions understands the significance of that choice. Readers aren't just buying a book. They're supporting an author whose motivations align with their own values. They're investing in truth-telling rather than image management. Compare that to the original Becoming Sister Wives bestseller status that Robyn was so proud of achieving. That book succeeded because it offered viewers a sanitized peek behind the curtain of a popular television show. It rode the wave of existing fame and curiosity about plural marriage. The success was largely about entertainment and novelty rather than genuine connection or service. Christine's current success represents something completely different. She's built a relationship with readers based on authenticity, vulnerability, and shared experience. Women are buying her book not because they want celebrity gossip, but because they recognize their own struggles in her story. They're supporting an author who's willing to expose painful truths to help others heal. This is the difference between manufactured fame and authentic influence. Robyn achieved her bestseller dreams through collective effort and television curiosity. Christine achieved hers through individual courage and genuine service to others. One success was built on external validation. The other was built on internal transformation and the willingness to share that journey with others. And that's when the broader picture becomes crystal clear, because what Christine's book really exposes is that every single woman in that family system was a victim. Every single one. Even Robyn. Even the woman who seemingly won everything she wanted and got the man all to herself in the end. Let's be honest about what that system actually was. It was designed to keep women competing against each other for scraps of attention from one man who held all the power. It was built on the foundation that women's worth was determined by their ability to please and serve someone who saw them as interchangeable parts, rather than individual human beings with their own needs, dreams, and value. Christine's willingness to expose the intimate details of her marriage reveals the ugly truth about how that system operates. When she describes Kody's complete disregard for her pleasure, his refusal to engage in foreplay, his insistence that she remain covered during their most vulnerable moments, she's showing readers what dehumanization looks like in practice. And every woman in that family experienced some version of that same dynamic. But here's where the victim versus victor distinction becomes crucial. While all the women were trapped in the same fundamentally abusive system, the ones who found the courage to leave that system became the real winners. Christine didn't just escape, she transformed her pain into purpose, her trauma into truth-telling that serves others. Meanwhile, Robyn remains trapped in the very system she thought she had conquered. Yes, she got Kody to herself. But what exactly did she win? A man who systematically pushed away his own children when they questioned his authority, a partner who prioritizes control over connection, a relationship dynamic where she still has to walk on eggshells to maintain his approval. Christine describes in her book how even in Robyn and Kody's supposedly perfect marriage, Robyn is constantly managing Kody's emotions and reactions. She's still operating from a place of fear about losing his attention or approval. She won the competition, but she's still competing every single day to keep what she won. Think about that for a moment. Robyn achieved everything on her grandiose life list: fame, financial security, the undivided attention of the man she claimed to love, but she's still living in a system where her worth is determined by someone else's approval. She's still trapped in a dynamic where she has to be strategic and manipulative to get her needs met. The women who left that system, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, discovered something much more valuable than winning a man's attention: They discovered their own voices, their own worth, their own ability to create meaningful lives without constantly seeking validation from someone who was incapable of providing it. Christine's bestseller success represents the ultimate validation of that choice. She's connecting with readers not because she's trying to please them or manage their perceptions, but because she's finally free to tell the truth about her experiences. She's building authentic relationships based on shared understanding rather than strategic positioning. Every woman who's ever left a controlling relationship, who's ever chosen difficult truth over comfortable lies, who's ever discovered that losing everything you thought you wanted was actually the path to finding everything you actually needed, they're all cheering for Christine right now. Because the real victory isn't winning someone who treats you as less than human. The real victory is discovering your own humanity and using that discovery to help others find theirs. Now here's where this story becomes so deliciously ironic that you couldn't script it better if you tried. Robyn Brown achieved every single item on her grandiose life list: bestseller status, celebrity connections, financial security, platform to change the world, and ended up miserable, isolated, and trapped in exactly the kind of controlling relationship that Christine escaped. Meanwhile, Christine lost everything she thought defined her life. Her family structure disintegrated. Her marriage ended. Her financial security disappeared. Her children had to navigate the painful reality of watching their family implode on national television. By every external measure that Robyn valued, Christine's life looked like a complete disaster. But look at where they both stand today. Robyn sits in her million-dollar mansion with a man who systematically alienated his own children, who treats disagreement as betrayal, who demands absolute loyalty while offering conditional love in return. She got the prize she fought so hard to win, but that prize turned out to be a beautiful prison with a warden who calls himself a husband. Christine, on the other hand, discovered that losing everything she thought she needed was actually the path to finding everything she actually wanted: freedom to speak her truth, authentic connections with people who value her voice, the ability to help other women recognize patterns in their own lives, a platform built on service rather than self-promotion. The irony goes even deeper when you consider their original motivations. Robyn dreamed of writing a bestseller before she had anything meaningful to say. She fantasized about meeting celebrities before she had developed the character that would make those meetings valuable. She wanted to change the world while remaining fundamentally unchanged herself. Christine never dreamed of literary success. She just wanted her children to live without fear. She never sought celebrity status. She just wanted to reduce harm in fundamentalist communities. She never crafted vision boards about fame and fortune. She just wanted the freedom to tell the truth about her family's reality. And yet, when Christine finally found her authentic voice and the courage to use it, readers responded in ways that Robyn's calculated approach never achieved. Christine's vulnerability created genuine connection. Her truth-telling served real needs. Her willingness to expose painful details helped other women recognize their own experiences and find language for trauma they'd never been allowed to discuss. Every woman who's ever discovered that the life they were told to want wasn't actually the life they needed understands this irony perfectly. Sometimes losing everything that looks good from the outside is exactly what it takes to find everything that actually matters. Robyn got her bestseller through collective effort and television fame. Christine earned hers through individual courage and authentic service. Robyn achieved her celebrity dreams but remained trapped in the very system those dreams were supposed to free her from. Christine lost her family structure but gained the freedom to build something infinitely more meaningful. The ultimate irony? Robyn spent years manipulating situations to get what she wanted, only to discover that what she wanted was actually a trap. Christine spent years serving others and protecting her family, only to discover that the courage she developed through that service would eventually become her path to genuine freedom and success. Robyn won the competition but lost herself in the process. Christine lost the competition but found herself in the aftermath. And now, watching Christine's solo success from her isolated mansion, Robyn must be confronting the uncomfortable reality that authentic success can't be manufactured, manipulated, or strategically achieved. It has to be earned through the kind of vulnerable truth-telling that she's never been willing to risk. Christine's New York Times bestseller success represents something far more significant than impressive sales numbers or literary accolades. It's validation that choosing truth over control, authenticity over image management, and service over self-promotion actually works in the long run. Every woman who's ever had to choose between family loyalty and personal truth recognizes what Christine accomplished here. She risked everything: her marriage, her family structure, her financial security, to speak honestly about experiences that most people would take to their graves. And readers rewarded that courage by making her book a #1 bestseller in multiple categories. This success proves that genuine connection with audiences can't be manufactured through strategic manipulation or celebrity name recognition. Christine built her platform one vulnerable truth at a time, one brave conversation at a time, one moment of authentic service at a time. She discovered that when your motivations are pure and your goals serve others rather than just yourself, people respond to that sincerity. While Robyn remains trapped in her beautiful prison, managing her image and walking on eggshells to maintain approval from someone incapable of providing genuine love, Christine is building something infinitely more valuable. She's connecting with women who recognize their own struggles in her story. She's giving language to experiences that have been silenced for generations. She's proving that losing everything you think you need can be the path to finding everything you actually want. The real victory isn't achieving fame or fortune. It's discovering your authentic voice and having the courage to use it in service of others. Christine didn't set out to become a best-selling author. She set out to help other women recognize patterns in their own lives. Her literary success is simply the natural result of that authentic motivation. So congratulations, Christine, on proving that truth-telling trumps manipulation every single time. What do you think will surprise us most in her next chapter? And which legal move has you cheering the loudest? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and keep those notifications on. A fresh video is already queued up, and something tells me the next round of Sister Wives drama will be even juicier than the last.